Good afternoon. Welcome again to another presentation with Partner Resource Network in collaboration with Consolidated Planning Group. So we are excited to have again Allison Schaberg. But before I introduce her to our class today, we are going to tell you who Partner Resource Network is. So Partner Resource Network is the parent training and information centers for Texas. We are funded by the Department of Education, Office of Special Education to provide free resources and training for parents of children with disabilities and youth with disabilities that we call them self-advocates. Our mission is to empower and support Texas families and individuals impacted by disabilities or special healthcare needs. Who we serve? Parents of children with disabilities and youth with disabilities from the ages 0 to 26. Who we serve in all the state of Texas. Partner Resource Network was first founded in 1986, and now we have 4 projects serving parents, and we are the Parent Training and Information Center for Texas. Personally, I'm the regional coordinator. I'm Veronica Alvarez, and I'm the regional coordinator on Region 13. So that's Austin. So I'm part of the team project. In the map, you can see us in the red area. Another regions that are part of the team project are Region 20, that's San Antonio, Texas, and Region 1, that is the Rio Grande Valley area. Our services are free. And we offer parent workshop, youth workshops, webinars like this one, information and referrals, one-on-one technical assistance. We do a lot of support in the art meetings, and we can do also IEP clinics with you to review your IEP paperwork. We do once a year a symposium. We offer parent leadership trainings, youth leadership trainings, and access to social media resources. So for today, if your camera and your microphone is off. So if you have questions, please type it in the chat box, and we will answer your question at the end of this presentation. We are recording this presentation, so at the end of probably tomorrow, we are going to share our video in our webpage, and also Allison Schaberg is going to share with you guys. Consolidated Planning Group has also a YouTube channel where they share all the presentation that we do. So at the end of this session, you are going to receive a link. That's a survey. And please help us with that. It's just only going to take you 1 or 2 minutes to fill out that survey. Is about how can we improve, help with feedback, and also with that kind of evaluation, we report to our grant and continue give you guys free classes and training and everything that we do at Partner Resource Network. We do not provide CEUs, but we can do a certificate of attendance. If you need one, please type it in the chat box, and I will happy to do one for you. So my contact information, again, my name is Veronica Alvarez, and that's my phone number, my email, and please visit our main webpage is www.prntexas.org. If we have a lot of information in there about the events coming up, about fact sheets, everything about special education, and anything about related to special education and special needs, disabilities. All right, I'm going to stop my sharing. And now we have with us Allison Schaberg. She is a financial planner and also with Consolidated Planning Group. And she is also a mom of 2 young adults with disabilities. And she has a lot of experience working with families with special healthcare needs, more than 25 years of experience working with families. So we are glad to have her here with us today. And she's going to be talking about how to save in medical expenses. So thank you, Allison, again, to being here with us and share your knowledge to our audience.
Absolutely, Veronica. It's such a pleasure to be back with you. I know we've partnered with your organization many times for these webinars, but we've actually never done this one today that we're doing with your organization before, so we're happy to do that. So as she said, I'm Allison Schaberg, Consolidated Planning Group. Consolidated Planning Group is a holistic special needs planning firm. So although we are advisors, like similar to other financial advisors that you may have come across before, our whole practice is nuanced and special needs. We're nationally certified as Social Security advisors, members of the Special Needs Planning Academy. And when it comes to planning for our kiddos with special needs, your situation is specialized, just like mine. And special care and consideration does have to go into that planning. You know, as families, we're going to spend probably 25 to 35 years in retirement. And if we have a special needs loved one that's going to have care needs well beyond our life, we have to plan carefully because it's almost like it's like a third retirement bucket. So we help families with that. We help them navigate the waters with SSI and Medicaid, Social Security, childhood disability benefits under a parent's record. But one of the things that we can do, and I would say that we do a really good job on, is families come to us and they say, you know what, we're hopeful and optimistic for our child, but they're not there yet. They haven't arrived yet. We hope that they're not going to need care for the rest of their life, but we want to plan for the worst and we want to hope for the best. But honestly, we don't even know how much we should set aside for the special needs trust for our loved one. We need help with those. We actually do those calculations for families, and we're able to even do them like multiple scenarios. And I kind of call it small, medium, and large. Like, what if they need some care? What if they just need an attendant or some help? They could live semi-independently. What if they need full residential care? Or what if there's something in between, right, that we want to provide assistance? Maybe we have a loved one or a family member that would be a future caregiver for our loved one, but we want to make sure that there's enough financial assistance to cover, the child's needs. We're able to help with all of those things. So I just wanted to take a moment and mention those things. If we haven't met with you before, we'd like to invite you to schedule a free consultation with us. Our initial consultations are always free. So sometimes as we're going throughout our presentations, there's families that they want to ask a question, but they don't because they don't want to put all their business in the chat box, which is fine. But if you have, personalized questions, or if you've got some challenges that are going on that you're not really sure how to navigate, we can definitely help you with that. So today we are talking about how to save on medical expenses. Today we're going to be talking more about, advocacy and what to do and what not to do. So, this kind of dates back. I won't say how far, but it was a long time ago that I had a child that had a critical illness and, a helicopter ride and intubated and on life support and ICU and you name it. And after that little stint, we got bills in the mail that had totaled for 2.5, 3 weeks. It totaled like $250,000. And we had insurance. We had multiple insurance programs, which maybe some of you do too. But that $250,000 were all the claims that had been denied for various reasons. So talk about walking to the mailbox and wanting to have a heart attack once you open the mail. Totally get that. So baptized by fire here, but I learned a lot of things along the way. One, because we do what we do, but two, just as a parent in the parent hat. So one of the things that, we really, we spend time talking about is don't put this on the shelf, because what happens to a lot of people, and if this has happened to you, today's the day, the line in the sand that you're going to move this along and move forward and be empowered to take charge of this. But what a lot of times what happens is when we have extensive medical bills going on, it's because clearly things aren't going that well. So whether it's with your special needs child or you yourself as a parent, you've gotten sick or something along those lines. So when these bills come in, a lot of times the bills are wrong. A lot of times they didn't file the insurance correctly. Maybe you had more than one insurance. They only filed one instead of the three. There's a lot of reasons why the bills can be incorrect. But what people do as a coping mechanism is they put this on the shelf or in the table or in the bill bin of something that you're going to get to. But then, days turn into weeks and weeks turns into months, and then they send you to the collection agency. So the first things first is always take charge of this and don't put it on the shelf or put it away that you're going to get to it and then you never do and let these bills go to collection. Because there's all types of help and support and tips that we're going to go through today that can help you navigate this, not ruin your credit, pay bills in a reasonable, affordable manner to your monthly budget. So what happens if insurance is denying claims? Well, first things first, we want you to get organized. So we want you to keep and organize your bills by facilities. We do realize that some families have multiple facilities that they're dealing with, multiple entities that they're dealing with. Keep and organize your explanation of benefits, also called EOBs, and I would organize them by date. Now, nowadays, you don't have to download them. You don't have to print them. In fact, you can turn off the mailing them to you because you do have a username and password for your health insurance where you can log in where all of your EOBs live, and you can look at them and just maybe print off the one or download the one that there's an issue with. But they all live out there. So if you're trying to organize in such a manner to where it's not crazy from a paperwork perspective, that might be an effective way. A lot of people still like the printed form because you can write notes on it, talk about who you talk to and whatever. You're going to want to keep a list of phone numbers handy to the facilities that you owe and the various departments of your insurance company, okay? So have those handy. And one of the things that we do is we always make a note of who you spoke to, the date you spoke to them, the number you called, a brief description of what was discussed, but specifically, what did you agree to? What did they agree to? Because a lot of times there's, kind of it's almost like a tennis match or a ping pong game where, okay, so you get these denied claims and you've got the bill from the facility. And then you call the facility and the facility says, well, you need to call the insurance company because they're the ones that denied this. So the problem lies with them, not us, or what have you. So there can be a lot of back and forth. So put your patient's hat when you start looking at this. So let's talk about some health insurance. And, a lot of times there's a lot of confusion with health insurance. So understanding your medical coverage, when you have multiple plans, like a lot of our kids, they may be covered by Medicaid and your primary health insurance. And some of our kids have Medicaid, Medicare, and our primary health insurance, our group plan. But find out who pays first if you have more than one plan. And a little note is that Medicaid is always the last payer. When it comes to Medicaid, they're always the last payer. But how does your plan pay? For instance, 80-20, 90-10, 100%. There's all different types of plans out there and what they pay. And as you guys may have noticed, over the last 5-10 years, plans have been paying less, right, than what we were used to before. The premiums have gone up, the coverage has changed, our deductibles are higher, our out-of-pocket expenses are higher, and it ends up that we're paying a lot more than what we used to at one time. Look and see what your maximum out-of-pocket annual expense is on your plan. And I just want to note this right now because right now we are in open enrollment season, right? So if you have a group health plan, a lot of times this is the time of year that you're redoing or re-upping your health benefits. So this is a good time to pay attention to this and look at this plan. What does your plan cover? What does it not cover? When does it go to 100%? Is there a lifetime maximum that your carrier will pay, or is your coverage unlimited? So a little special note on that. Some families have like a sharing organization like Christian MediShare, Altrua. There are some health sharing organizations that's not traditional health insurance. Those types of plans do have maximums on coverage, and ever since Obamacare came in, there is no such thing as a lifetime maximum anymore on your traditional health plans. They were quite frequently, prior to Obamacare, $1 million. So a lot of our kiddos and family members hit that $1 million mark pretty quickly, but that's not something that you have to worry about anymore on group health insurance, or if you buy a health plan on the individual market. It's more of the sharing organizations. So, and then what we want to talk about is like your preferred facilities. In-network, out-of-network is another example of that, of things that you've heard before. Typically, what we see is your PPO, that's the Preferred Provider Network. They have a list of facilities and physicians that are in network with the plan. And if you go to those facilities that are in network and plan, they're going to be cheaper. It's going to be cheaper for you to go to those facilities to see those doctors in network. Some plans have out-of-network coverage, and you pay more to go to out-of-network facilities. But there are other plans, and again, this has been since Obamacare, that there are other plans that there is no out-of-network coverage. So you want to choose wisely and make sure that you're looking at that carefully. Another big thing, and as things have evolved with hospitals, does your plan require coverage to be pre-certified prior to services? This is very, very common for radiology, MRIs, CT scans, PET scans, other types of things like that. There is a pre-certification. Now, it used to be that the hospitals would put that on you to get that pre-certification, or they would blame you if they didn't do that. They don't really do that anymore, and the hospitals have gotten a lot better at that. They're doing a really, really good job of getting those pre-certifications, because after all, they do want to get paid, and if it requires a pre-certification and they did not get it, then they're at risk of not being paid. So the other thing is, as you guys are looking at your group health plans and your options for benefits, one little misnomer that I want to make you aware of is, a lot of times when we have a kid that has special needs, or we have a family member that has a lot of healthcare needs, when we're looking at open enrollment and we're looking at the plans that are available, we automatically think that we need the best plan they have. We have healthcare needs. I need the best plan there is. You got to sit down with a pen and paper and a calculator on that, because sometimes that very best plan, the Cadillac plan, is not the best plan for your family. A lot of times there are plans that are available that are like a high deductible plan that come with an HSA, which we're going to talk about that, a health sharing, health savings account. And a lot of times those high deductible plans can be a beautiful plan for you. And the reason, let me kind of dial that back a little bit and give you an example. One of my kids, they have some significantly costly radiology services that are needed every single year, right? And so for us, taking that high deductible plan is a really smart direction for us to go, because we can schedule those radiology services right at the beginning of the plan year. And then we've hit our deductible and out-of-pocket maximum for the whole year, and our plan goes to 100%. So when we go to the doctor, we pay nothing. When we go to the pharmacy, we pay nothing. There's none of this, the co-pays every time you go to the doctor. And sometimes those co-pays oftentimes are more expensive when you go to a specialist. So typically the Cadillac plan has a copay. It could be $20, $30, $40, $50. I've seen them as high as $75. They're going up. But when you take that high deductible plan, basically the plan pays nothing until you hit the deductible. So if you know that you can hit that deductible and that out-of-pocket expense in the first month, that may be the best option for you, and because those copays can add up quickly. At one point with one of our kids, we were at the hospital 3 days a week, and we were seeing multiple specialty clinics 3 days a week. So on a copay plan, if you're specialist copay is $35 and you're seeing 3 different specialists in one day and you're going 3 days a week, it adds up really, really quickly. So you got to do the math on that and see what makes more sense financially. And I just wanted to mention, I think Veronica did too. She's going to be monitoring the chat box today. So if you guys have any questions throughout this presentation, put them in the chat box right away. We don't have to wait till the end for any questions or anything like that. She'll chime in if we have one. So let's talk about the employer-sponsored health plans just a little bit further. Your HSAs and your FSAs. You want to read your group health plan documents thoroughly, checking for covered services and exclusions. There are such things as exclusions in certain equipment and other types of things that could be excluded. So you want to see, how does your plan pay for that? And I would say consider contributing to your HSA and or FSA. It allows you to save pre-tax dollars for medical expenses. But check what happens to the money left over in your HSA or FSA at the end of the plan year. And as a general rule, because a lot of times people get confused during open enrollment because they have the HSA and the FSA, and do I need both and which one's better? Generally speaking, the HSA dollars, the health savings account dollars, you keep at the end of the plan year. So if they take that money out pre-tax, and you've got that money left over in the account at the end of the year, that money is still there. You don't lose it. A lot of times, oftentimes in the FSA account at the end of the year, the money in the FSA account goes away. So for that in particular, I choose to go with the HSA, not the FSA, but both of them have tax benefits. So check that carefully. That's a big thing where people have been burned on before, where they had the money in the FSA and then they lost it at the end of the year. So what if your health insurer is denying your health care claims? What do you do now? So again, first you're going to have your explanation of benefits. You're going to have your bill. Your explanation of benefits is going to explain to you why the claim was denied. It could say it was a non-covered service. It could say it was a duplicate claim. It could say waiting for information from the insured to see if they have other coverage, because they may have been notified that your child had some other coverage that they didn't file with. So there's a lot of things that you can do and you can look at, and a lot of times it's just something simple like providing that information. It's just a mistake or something that didn't transfer over from the hospital system when they filed that claim. But there is something called the Patient Advocate Foundation, and they have a lot of resources to help patients navigate some of these challenges with billing and other healthcare challenges. Also, the Patient Advocate Foundation can put you in touch with other resources where there might be a study or a program going on or a grant for a particular diagnosis or particular service that your loved one needs that maybe isn't going to be covered by your insurance, or you don't have insurance or what have you, but they can connect you with various programs that have financial assistance tied to them in a way to go about getting the things that you need without breaking the bank. So this is just a good place. They have a website, an 800 number. It doesn't cost you anything to talk to them. So just be aware of that. We like that a lot. So some myths about medical bills, and these are things that I guarantee you that everybody on here has heard before, but I want to talk about them because it's important you understand what the truth is and what the myth is. So the myth number one, hospitals will never send you to collections as long as you pay something. And so I've heard people say that all the time. Well, you could send them $5 a month. You could send them, you just send them a check, just send them something, and they will never send you to collections. And that is not true. The reality of this situation is the hospital or the facility had to agree to the payment plan. Okay. So that is the main thing. And to agree to a payment plan takes effort on your part. You've got the bill. There's the 800 number on the bill you're going to call, and we're going to talk more about this, but you're going to call and say, listen, I've got this bill for $8,500. I can't pay this right now. but I need to get this set up on a payment plan. We work hard. Our credit is good. We don't want our credit to get bad, but we're going to need to get this set up on a payment plan. And honestly, I am a fan. I just want to mention this, that I'm a fan of the payment plan. You might not be, okay? But I'm a fan of the payment plan, and I'm going to tell you why. The payment plan, they don't charge interest. I've seen one facility ever in the last 30 years and they just started in the last year that's actually charging you interest on the hospital bill. They're not charging you interest. So if you actually have the money to throw down to pay whatever that bill is, you're probably earning more interest, on your money somewhere else than since they're not charging you interest, you can pay the payment plan. Your money can still be growing. Whereas if you pay a lump sum to them, your money's not growing. The money's just gone. That's all there is to it. And since they're not charging you interest, it's just worth considering. Also, cash is king, and we don't know when we're going to have another emergency in the future. So if we, have this $10,000 or $15,000 and we owe this, and we're going to just send them a check for that kind of money, you might need that money in another emergency later, and you're not going to get it back that way. So a manageable monthly payment plan that fits into your monthly budget is reasonable, a reasonable thought process. So here's another myth, that you should pay all the bills for your adult family members. So let's say you have an adult child with special needs. But the reality of it is, okay, so from a character perspective, that is fine and that is noble and it is wonderful, but they're considered an adult, okay? They're their own financial entity. They're no longer your financial entity anymore, okay? So the reality of it is there are a lot of financial assistance programs for the indigent and disabled. So indigent and disabled, there's a lot of programs. We see a lot of those bills that are just wiped out completely. They're reduced drastically. There's all kinds of options out there. So don't think that if you have an adult disabled child that you have to pay every one of those bills. Again, we have to navigate them. We have to look at the bills. We have to look at the EOBs. We need to communicate with the billing departments. We need to set them up on a payment plan. We need to apply for the financial assistance or whatever we can for them. So working with billing departments. So we want you to be an advocate for yourself or for your loved one. When you don't understand something, ask. Don't always accept the answers that you're given because sometimes they're wrong. Ask again. A lot of these people in these call centers, that's just it. They're just in a call center. They're reading from a manual. They themselves have limits of what they can do for you, what they can give you a yes or a no or confirm a payment plan. Most of these billing facilities, hospitals specifically, they have like a formula. So if you call and you say you want a payment plan, they say, absolutely, we'll be happy to help you. And it's usually 1/12 or 1/24 or whatever. Like, okay, what if depending on they have like, kind of a scale depending on how much the bill is will determine if they'll let you pay it over 12 months or 18 months or 24 months, basically. But it's okay if they say, okay, well, 1/12 is this much money. It's totally okay for you to say, I'm sorry, that's too much. I can't afford that every month. But what I can afford is whatever, if it's $50 a month, if it's $100 a month, what I can afford is X. And so typically what you should know at that point, if it's outside of their little guideline at the call center, they're not going to be able to give you that satisfaction. And so what you're going to say here is, listen, I understand that you might not be able to set this up for me, but this is truly what I need, and this is what I could afford. So I was wondering if you could escalate me to a supervisor or someone, higher up that could approve this payment plan for me. And typically that supervisor is not available at that time, and they'll usually call you back within 24 to 48 hours. And I would say 99% of the time they're going to approve that payment plan. There are so many people that skirt out on these bills. They do not pay them whatsoever. They let them go to collections. They just don't care. So when they have a person that is diligently calling and making an effort to set up a payment plan, so what if you can't afford $250 or $350 a month or something like that? But if you can afford $50, $25, $50, $100, whatever it might be, they tend to work with you on that. And those supervisors are going to be able to provide better solutions. We also want you to be informed on any nonprofit organizations that specifically help patients with various diseases and conditions. They might have small financial aid grants for people who qualify. Sometimes they pay for parking if you're, inpatient for a long time. Sometimes they pay co-pays. There's all kinds of stuff. So if you have a disease-specific organization that is applicable to your family member, you might want to check that out. Another thing that I want to tell you that is totally worth asking. So a lot of these times they don't tell you this right off the bat, but there are a lot of facilities that offer a discount. Like, okay, if you pay this in full, we'll reduce this by 50% or 75 or 25%. We see a lot of 25% reductions. They want to get their money, so you can ask that as well. You're trying to set up the payment plan and like, okay, I can't afford to do the lump sum, but I'm working with a family member that might be able to help. If we could pay the lump sum, is there any reduction for paying the lump sum, a 25% reduction or something like that? What's the best that you can do? And so asking that question, if you don't ask, they can't say no, but most of the time when you ask, a lot of those facilities are giving a benefit like that. Veronica, how are we? Do we have any questions so far?
We have a question, but it's about the handouts. They are asking that this is a very good presentation, very good information, and I already typed it in the Q&A that we will send an email at the end of this presentation with Allison information and also with the handouts of today's presentation. Also, we want to encourage you guys to if you would like to make an appointment with the Consolidated Planning Group with Allison, they offer free consultations for you guys to be more individualized, your question for them, and is a great resource for you guys.
For sure. And so, yeah, today you are going to get a copy of today's slides. You'll get a link to the recording. And we're also going to include a letter that we're going to go over in a minute of, like, if you're going to write to the billing departments and ask for help, how do you ask for help? So we're going to talk about something else that you don't know yet. Okay. So communications with your facility. So first of all, follow up. You're going to want to correspond with your facilities in writing. They must respond to all written requests. And then you have a paper trail as well. If arrangements were made by telephone, like you've called them, you've asked for a payment plan, you talked to the supervisor, they agreed to $50 a month, whatever it is, ask them to send you a copy of what they agreed to. Sometimes they say yes, and sometimes they say no. Typically when they say no, they just can't, whatever, but they usually fulfill what they're supposed to do anyway. Another thing that you want to do is you want to ask them, once you set up a payment plan, are they still going to send you a bill every month? A lot of them want you to agree to a bank draft. So if you've agreed to pay $50 a month, you've agreed to have that drafted from your credit card or your checking account or whatever every month. And I do recommend that you set it up that way. I know a lot of people don't like bank drafts, but a lot of these deals are out the window. If you pay late one time, it's over. So you want to make sure that you do exactly what you agreed to. If you're going to pay them $100 a month on the 15th of every month, then you need to pay on or before the 15th of every single month, or you're not fulfilling your end of the agreement. So what I'm telling you is some facilities, once you set up that payment plan, they'll send you a bill every month, and other facilities will not send you a bill every month. You just know that you owe that every month. So you need to ask how that's going to work for the facility that you're dealing with. Do not let bills go to collections. Once they've gone, it is too late to make arrangements with them. So don't put your medical bills in the pile to deal with later. And again, if you've done it, no problem. You're not alone. We've all been there. We've all felt that for sure. But just be persistent with your efforts. It's your credit. Don't let insult to injury. When we have a lot of medical bills, like I said, things aren't going well. Someone is sick. And if it's a caregiver or, a family member, somebody's had a heart attack or cancer or things like that, they might be out of work. Things are tough. But there is definitely help out there for you. So just be persistent and don't give up. So one of the things that I want to talk about is asking for assistance. I probably should have stayed on that last slide for a second. So there is a such thing as financial assistance with all of these hospitals. Your typical doctor's office or medical office, private medical office, they don't always offer this. Sometimes the bigger ones do, but they typically don't. I'm mainly talking about these big hospital conglomerate facilities. They don't usually offer this right on when you call the billing department, but they have what can be called a charity care application, or it could be called a financial assistance application. And so I would say, I think it's worth the effort to ask for these forms. And you might say, I make too much money. There's just no way it's not going to be approved. You got to tell your story. Okay. I want you to tell your story. Some of the facilities, hospitals will have the charity care or the financial assistance application on their websites. If you go to their website, you go to billing, some of them will put them out there for you to download and fill in yourself and send it in. And a lot of facilities require that you call and you simply request it. So ask for the charity care or financial assistance application. I don't care how much money you make, tell your story. You're going to kind of talk about maybe the month and the year that the condition began, explain how it has impacted your family. If you've been out of work as a result of it, are you out of work because you're caregiving for a child? Are you out of work because you yourself are sick? And even if you make too much money, it's okay to say, I'm not sure that I qualify, but what I'm sure of is what I can't pay and I can do this. I'm asking for assistance. So basically, a lot of times when you send this letter requesting financial assistance, so when they send that application over, they're going to ask for tax returns, they're going to ask for income information, they're going to ask about trust information, they're going to ask what you have. Don't lie, tell the truth, tell what you have, but then in the letter, and this is what we're going to give you a copy of, we're going to give you a sample template of this letter of what to say so you can personalize it for yourself. But tell your story. How has it impacted? Was your house flooded in Hurricane Harvey? What has happened? What have been, the events in your life? Are you a widowed person? Are you a single parent? Are you receiving child support or not? Or whatever your story is that has made your journey difficult, tell your story. Keep it to one page because they don't care that much. But keep it to one page, ask for your support, and tell your story. We got a question, Veronica?
Yeah, we have a couple of questions in the Q&A. The first one says, I am late, so I apologize if this was already covered. My adult son is covered with my work health insurance program. In order to have Medicaid pay deductibles and copayments, does the provider have to accept Medicaid in the first place? He's receiving ABA therapy and the providers do not take Medicaid.
Okay, so yes, that's a great question, and we haven't covered that. So a lot of the Medicaid, unless they've changed in the last couple of weeks, they're not covering ABA therapy. And so yes, the Medicaid, they do have to be in network with Medicaid. So in one example, I have a child who has our group health insurance, an adult child who has our group health insurance. She also has Medicaid, and she also has Medicare. So in that example, Medicare is the primary payer, our insurance is the secondary payer, and Medicaid is the third payer. But what we have found is that none of our doctors that we like, and we're not switching, are in network with Medicaid. Okay, so what you're going to find is a network with Medicaid or those hospitals, whether it's it's Seton, whether it's Memorial Hermann, whether it's Methodist. There's so many facilities all across Texas. Texas Children's, for example, in Dallas, Fort Worth, you got Cooks. There's all kinds of stuff that's in network with Medicaid, hospital-wise. It's the good doctors that you really like and you really need that are not in network with Medicaid because they can't get paid. That's all there is to it. They've had it. They've worked really hard. They do work really hard. They're really good, and that's why you go to them. And Medicaid undercuts what they pay them, and so that's why they're not in network. So in that example, your primary insurance should be covering the ABA, and the Medicaid's basically not going to help with that, not right now anyway. I know that there's some talk about them changing, the coverage for some of the ABA services and things like that with Medicaid, but to my knowledge, it hasn't changed yet. Now, one other thing that I want to mention to you guys on this for your kiddos with special needs that have Medicaid, there is a HIP health insurance like reimbursement program, to where if you do have your group health insurance, you can get the premiums for that group health insurance covered. If it is more financially beneficial for them to cover that because your plan pays better, then they'll do a HIP reimbursement. So we have a lot of families that we work with that do that. I probably should have done that, but to me, it was too much of a headache, and our insurance paid good, so I just forget it.
I do that. I do that.
So
for
good.
All the family. I mean,
it really helps. I've had families say that it's really great. I mean, I've had a family say that they were getting like 16 grand a year back or something like that. I've heard 8 grand, 9 grand, which sounds pretty fantastic. But I personally haven't done it. I've had families that have talked about it being a nightmare, and I've had other families that have said that it was smooth sailing. It was pretty good. I've had a lot of families this year that said that they came up for renewal for the HIP, and then HIP denied them. So they're kind of going through some of the red tape on that. But anyway, I just want you guys to know that there is a such thing. You can look it up, the HIP reimbursement. So if your child is getting Medicaid and they also have primary health insurance, that you can get some reimbursement for that. And one other little plug that I want to say too here, I have a lot of families that ask me, hey, my kid is getting Medicaid. Why should I even keep them on my group health insurance? And the answer is you absolutely should. And the reason why is your group health insurance is way better than Medicaid. It's going to give you the freedom of choice to take your child where you want to take them. It's going to provide better coverage. And so if you have a child that has critical care needs, has complicated, if they're a complicated diagnosis or a rare diagnosis, I know some people don't have a choice. They might not have an option for group insurance, or maybe it became so unaffordable they couldn't keep it anymore. But all I'm telling you, from one parent to another, if there's any way, shape, or form that you can keep your child on your group health plan, I totally recommend that. And furthermore, one other thing that I want to mention to you guys, because again, a lot of group employers don't tell you this, but the law says that our kids can stay on our health insurance, disabled or not, prior to age 26. Once they turn 26, they got to come off of our health insurance. So I want you to know that the group health plans, your HR department, you can call them. I've got my child, he's turning 26, whatever, but he is disabled. He's disabled in the eyes of the Social Security Administration. Can you please send me the form to keep my disabled adult child on my group health plan? They have a form for that. You got to ask for it. And you're going to talk to your HR department about that. So that's real important. If you didn't know that, I hope that's a good takeaway for you guys today. All right, what are our next questions?
That's very good takeaway. We have another question. It says, my teenage son has autism and he is not eligible for Medicaid because of the family income. He had Medicaid services for 1 year until they discovered they made a mistake because the family income was too high. Should I reapply or wait until he turns 18?
So I would recommend waiting until he turns 18. So the magic thing, and guys, we have a whole presentation on SSI and Medicaid, but in general, most families don't qualify for SSI and Medicaid when their child is under age 18 because, for what she just said, they make too much money or they went over the threshold, right? But when your child turns 18, it's based off of their income and assets, not yours, even if you have guardianship of them. Their income and assets, not yours, when they turn 18. So what you want to do is you are going to want to reapply for SSI and Medicaid when they turn 18. We can help. We have all kinds of guidance and help with that and kind of telling you what to do. and what not to do and how not to mess that up, because it's a confusing little journey. But the main thing that you need to know right now, so if you have a child that's not 18 yet, they cannot have more than $2,000 assets in their name. If your child has a savings account or a checking account or anything like that, it needs to get moved to an ABLE account, because they don't count money in an ABLE account. But anything over $2,000 will disqualify them for SSI and Medicaid. And we want them to be Medicaid eligible as well for all of the waivers that are available in Texas. And we have whole webinars on that as well. Veronica, do we have any other questions right now?
Another person from the audience shared the HIP link for people to understand better that that benefit. So I put it in the chat box. Thank you so much for Susan that shared with us that link. And
yes, thank you.
We have another question. How can we access your workshop of SSI?
Okay, so we have a YouTube channel. I think I put it in the chat box, and it's going to be at the end of this presentation. It'll also be in our email that we're going to send out to everybody either later today or tomorrow. It's Consolidated Planning Group YouTube channel. You can subscribe to that for free. I think there's like 200 webinars out there on various topics for special needs, but SSI, waivers, guardianship, special needs trust, ABLE accounts, it's all out there. And we do webinars every week, so you guys can attend in the future. I think we put an email out, my staff puts an email out once a month that'll have our webinars for the whole month. And if you register for the webinars, even if you can't attend, you'll get an email later with a link to the webinar and kind of what happened if you missed it. And then it also gets out on our YouTube channel later. All right, so let's talk about taxes. And I always give the disclaimer, we are not CPAs and we don't play one on TV, but a lot of times people are asking, because we're on the financial side of, what is a deductible medical expense and when to use it? So in general, medical expenses need to be more than 7.5% of AGI, okay, to be able to itemize and deduct medical expenses. I save our receipts every year. And the funny thing is all the way dating back from 2003, last year was the very first time that we actually could itemize and deduct our medical expenses last year, because oftentimes you never hit that 7.5% of your AGI. So last year is the first year that we ever did that. And we've had some crazy expenses, but understand that not all medical expenses are deductible. And so, but also there are a lot of families that have alternative medical procedures or remedies that might be deductible if you follow the rules. You're going to want to keep those receipts. Another thing that people ask about, a lot of our families, they have their kids in private school, or maybe they have a nanny. And so nanny is questionable. Private school is also questionable, unless it's like a specific ABA school that your child is going to. So you want to be careful on all of those. Be careful deducting things that you shouldn't be deducting. But then sometimes we have hired caregivers and they may have nursing certifications and other things like that. And so if we're hiring a medical professional as a caregiver, then some of those expenses can be deductible. So anyway, we do refer out to a CPA that is nuanced in special needs. She does a real good job with that. Even though we, have background, even my spouse has an accounting background and everything, we still work with a professional. Again, our situation is specialized. When your situation is specialized, work with a specialist. I'm not a fan of the DIY projects on this kind of stuff, because you ultimately you'll accidentally mess up and then you end up owing a lot. So I would rather just say, spend the money, work with a professional and get it done correctly. So deductible medical tax expense definition is the IRS publication 502. Medical and dental expenses, the cost of diagnosis, cure, mitigation, treatment, or prevention of disease, and the cost for treatments affecting any part or function of the body. It does not include expenses that are merely beneficial to general health, such as vitamins or vacation. But it can include services and treatments from a holistic practitioner, including those that are not licensed or certified, homeopaths, naturopaths, and things like that. So that's just something just to know and to seek further guidance from a tax professional on that. And we have additional questions.
No, this one is for me. Do you think that they applies this deductible medical tax expense into when you send the kids to the dyslexia school? You know, the tuition to that kind of school is almost like a college thing, very expensive. So do you think it could be a deductible?
I think it's possible, but I think that I would definitely consult. See, there's those little things like that. Like, you know, I've seen families where they had like other treatments, like a hyperbaric chamber. I mean, there was definitive diagnoses and other things. And then there was like, you know, other kind of non-traditional path, like the hyperbaric chamber or the electromagnetic field like treatment and stuff like that. So I would definitely consult a tax professional. But again, even if it is covered, remember it's 7.5%, your total expenses. So we're talking premiums, non-deductible medical expenses, deductibles. I mean, all of that kind of stuff, everything that you're spending out of pocket, it needs to be more than 7.5% of your adjusted gross income on your tax returns. That's where it falls out, where you can't deduct it. That's where a lot of people, they lose people on that. So like I said, we've had major medical expenses. And one time in the last 20 years have I been able to deduct the 7.5% of AGI. So, which, I mean, I don't know if I should be happy or sad that we were able to do that. I mean, I was happy for once we were able to deduct it, but then I was like, man, that means we spent a lot of money. So anyway, not every medical expense is deductible. So the treatment covered by the definition of a medical expense from the previous slide? Do you have a prescription of the medical condition from your physician? You have proof of that diagnosis? Do you have the receipt or statement from the treatment or the service? There are other requirements, but these are examples, and you can look up, you can Google the tax code, the 502. So that's basically the first step, and then again, talking to a professional about that. Well, we have come towards the end, but one of the things that I want to talk to you guys about, these are the things that should be on your special needs planning radar. We do have webinars on all of these topics on our YouTube channel, things that are coming up. But let's just talk about them. We have a few minutes, so let's just talk about them. So when you're thinking, you've got a kid, whatever the age they are, you're thinking about transitioning. We want to help you develop a comprehensive special needs care plan. And again, this is where we say, what are the future care costs for little Johnny? What if Johnny needs care for the rest of his life? What does that look like? Small, medium, and large. And this is where we want to help you plan for the worst, but hope for the best. When the best happens, then that's great. You have a more lucrative retirement. Maybe you can step out of work earlier, but we want to help you develop that plan. The thing is when you're of sound mind and body, which we are right now, do this now. Don't wait till you're sick, till somebody's had a heart attack, till somebody's had a stroke, until you've had some kind of wake-up call. And don't wait until you're 80 years old and when you realize you're not getting any younger anymore and you don't know what's going to happen to your child when you're gone. So we can help you with all of that. Our Social Security maximization analysis, we have an awesome software. We are nationally certified as Social Security advisors, and we have an awesome software. It's the only software of its kind that takes into consideration I have a disabled child. And so there are benefits for our kids that have disabilities under a parent's record. So our software really tells us exactly how and when to pull the trigger on Social Security to maximize benefits for your entire household. And this is including maybe a spouse or another, a spouse that has stayed home to be a caregiver for your loved one. So it actually tells you exactly down to the month of when to pull the trigger and what it means to you, dollars and cents at various age. What if I turn it on at 65? What if I turn it on at 67? What about age 70? So that's something else to keep in mind, and we can help you with those things. Another thing that you want to make sure is that you're aware of the Texas waivers. These are Medicaid waivers and the interest list in the state of Texas. If you've attended in the past, you know that the waivers, the interest list, the waiting list is a long time. Some are suggesting as much as 17 years. Some of the waivers that I'm talking about, you may have heard of before: HCS, Texas Home Living, Community First Choice, class. That's another one. So you want to make sure that your loved one is on these interest lists. You don't have to prove eligibility when they get on the list. You have to prove eligibility when they come up on the list. But these are designed to waive off some of the cost of care of your loved one that has a disability. And some of these pay for a lot of therapy: speech, occupational, PT, music therapy, equine therapy, massage therapy. The list goes on and some of the therapies that they provide. But also, the point of these waivers is to keep your loved one in home and community-based services, because what they know now is that your loved one is going to be better in home and community-based services. And some of these waivers will also pay for attendant services or caregiver services. They may also have respite hours. So we can help people get on lists. If you're not there, just know that that's something that should be on your radar. And if you are already on the list, you can check to see where your child is on the list. So understanding SSI and SSDI and understanding the differences and knowing when to apply. We have webinars on all of that. We can definitely help you with all of that. There's a lot of confusion surrounding SSI and SSDI. We can help people get ABLE accounts open. Those ABLE accounts are for achieving a better life with an individual that has a disability that started prior to age 26. You don't have to open prior to 26. But this is a place that you can put money up to $16,000 a year, and an additional $12,880 if the individual with the disability is working. Tax-free, it grows tax-free withdrawals, tax-free contributions, and it won't be counted against them for SSI and Medicaid purposes. So this is something that you might want to learn about. Beneficiary designations. It's really, really important that we don't name our special needs child outright as it relates to beneficiaries on life insurance, any investment accounts that you have. If you do, and they get that money outright, it will jeopardize their qualifications for SSI and Medicaid. So the right way to leave money to our special needs loved ones is through a special needs trust. So, so we have webinars on that. And then another key thing that I just want to mention really quickly is if you have child support, if you are in a divorce situation, you have child support is going to continue post age 18. It is real important that you get with an attorney. We're happy to make referrals. We have referrals all over the state of qualified attorneys that work with special needs that do a great job. They're honest, good, and affordable. So we can make a referral on that. But your child support needs to be redirected to a first-party special needs trust, or it is going to be counted against them for income as it relates to SSI in the future. So so we also talk about, touring any facilities. The waiting list can be long. We have webinars on guardianship, alternatives to guardianship, power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, supported decision-making. You can start that process 6 months before the child turns 18. And in Texas, the rule is basically the least restrictive, most appropriate for the ward of the state, it basically is what they're saying. It's a horrible name, but that's what they say. And then also post-educational options for your loved one with a disability. There's all kinds of options out there. We have webinars on that as well. So just don't think that it's the end after high school. There are options. So I know we're about out of time. We got a few other questions. I'm happy to take those other questions, Veronica.
Yes, we have questions. So about tutoring services for students with specific learning disabilities are not covered by any insurance? Tutoring services?
Not usually. I've not ever seen them covered by. I've never seen them covered by health insurance. But where I have seen them covered by is Texas Workforce Commission if they're in the vocational rehab program, VR, and it has to be part of their plan. It has to be part of their plan, but the vocational rehab program is going to find out what the gaps are to employment for your student and what kind of training and resources they need to help close the gap. And if it's in line with their plan, it could be covered by vocational rehab. So that's the only thing that I can think of.
Got it. How do you confirm your position on the waiver list? With a 10-year plus waiting list and only verbal discussion with the keepers of the list?
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. I probably shouldn't share my opinion on that. I think it's funny that we live in a technology world that we do, and there's not a website. Like, I can't create a username and password and just see where my kid is on the list. How silly is that, right? Like, I should just be able to see. But no, you have to call your local Intellectual Disability Authority, LIDA, whatever you call it, Local Intellectual Disability Authority. And what are you guys up there? Integral Care? Which one are you?
In Travis County is Integral Care, and for Williamson County is Blue Bonnet Trails.
Okay, gotcha. And here we've got Harris, the Harris Center in Houston. We've got Texana, Fort Bend. I mean, there's a different local authority. We can help you find yours, but there's a locator. You put your zip code in if you don't know. But that's where you call to find out where they are on the list for HCS, Texas Home Living, and Community First Choice. But there's a separate phone number for MDCP, class, and the deaf-blind multiple disabilities. So it's a separate phone number. So it's silly, but that is how it works. Do we have another question?
The last question, are waivers for both children and adults with disabilities?
Yes, there are some waivers that are for kids under 21. Most of the waivers, yes.
And the JES
MDCP
waiver is also for until 17, I think.
Till 19. Yes,
19?
Waiver goes to 19, and then MDCP, the Star Plus waiver starts at age 21 and over, but most of the other waivers are all age, for all ages. So there are just a few of those. So, well, thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to be back with you, Veronica. I hope this webinar was helpful. Again, you guys are going to get a copy of the presentation today. You're going to get a copy of the sample letter that I showed. And if you want to schedule a free personalized consultation, you want to talk more about your unique situation, you can use this QR code. It'll take you to our calendar, and you can schedule an appointment through that, and it'll kind of come up with the days and times that might work best for you. We do work on a collaborative team here at Consolidated Planning Group, so we just wanted to mention that. So even though I'm the voice today and conducting the webinar, we work on an awesome team. So we just wanted to connect some of the faces and the names with you as well. So it's certainly been my pleasure, Veronica, and we look forward to connecting with all of you again.
Thank you, guys, and thank you for being with us today. Bye.
Bye now.